this is what they look like when they're stuck in the marlin. And you can see that that's in quite a long way. This is a blue marlin off New Guinea. I'll go through just a few of the species. Striped marlin, we've had 20 of those were tagged off Bermuda a few years back with these pop-up tags, and I think the longest one there that we had out was 130 days, which is a roost, that's about 4 months plus. What they showed is this northerly movement, but again, remember the recaptures of conventional striped marlin, very similar kind of pattern. Not moving over to New Zealand, just staying around this general area. Now the beauty of these tags was these have been analysed for their horizontal movements. Last night when I gave this talk at Sydney Game Fishing Club, somebody said, which highway did this one travel? and I said, oh, I knew it didn't. And you see, the reason I know it didn't was because this is the data that came from looking at the time of sunrise and time of sunset and relating that to the by the way, that gives you the longitude, because time of sunrise and sunset is unique for any given longitude on the Earth's surface. But then to work out the latitude, you have to get the sea surface temperature at that point, because sea surface temperature varies with latitude. And these tags, as I said, are storing temperature as well. So you get that data on that same day. So retrospectively, you look at sea surface temperature maps, and it's pretty complicated, and there's a lot of computer programs that sort it out. So what you get is this, the black line is the most likely movement of that fish, and the blue is sort of a statistical area where it probably was, and if it's red, that's very, very likely where it was, if you get what I mean. So it's a bit of a probability map. In other words, it's not accurate, it's not super duper accurate. You will not get a perfect track, but you certainly will know if a fish went in a big zigzag like that, or went over here and came back again during that period, which none of those did, by the way. They all did actually follow their, pretty similar to their straight line tracks. Remember the Coral Sea one that went up there, 130-day one? Well, it wandered back and forth, and when it got up there, it was up there for a while before the tag came off, so it stayed up there. So that tells us that it was doing something there, feeding or whatever. That tag, by the way, floated over and was picked up on the beach at Weipa on the other side of Cape York. So they did get the data out of that, and that showed that particular striped marlin reached a depth of 500 metres, which was the deepest record for a striped marlin dive up until that point. Striped marlin very surface oriented. So that's the other thing these are giving you, really a lot of information on variation in the depths of diving of these fish. We used to think that marlin didn't dive all that deep, through tracking them with ultrasonic tags, and that's generally true. Marlin tend to stay within about 200 metres of the surface. But using these tags over long periods of time with lots of marlin, we found that they will go down 500 metres, even 600 or 700 metres, blue, black and striped marlin. Tunas will go down a lot deeper. While I'm on that topic, I might as well. There's been a lot of yellowfin and big-eye tuna tagged with these tags, so from a commercial point of view, by Americans in the Eastern Pacific, and they have found that the record depth so far for a big-eye tuna was 1.7 kilometres, like 1,700 metres deep, in a dive, basically. So that's you think of the pressures involved and the oxygen levels at that depth and the temperatures, and they stay down those sorts of depths hunting. The yellowfin tuna have been logged going down. Again, yellowfin tuna are very surface oriented. We always do big-eye tuna, by the way, are fairly deep water tuna. They've evolved to exploit those deeper waters. They have those to themselves almost for the tunas, but the yellowfin are on the surface. But they'll go down up to 1,000 metres deep from time to time. But they don't stay down there very long because it gets cold, and yellowfin tuna aren't very good at thermoregulating, with big-eye tuna are better at thermoregulating, meaning they can maintain their body temperature higher for longer than yellowfin tuna can. So they're more advanced, if you like, big-eye tuna, more sophisticated in their physiology. Okay, so blue marlin, we've had 29 tagged on the program so far. And they've all pretty well gone in this direction. They've all been tagged off southern Queensland down to Coffs Harbour and a few off Sydney. There's been Graham McCloy tagged 2 in one day, one 200 kilo, one 180 kilo on Port Stephens. And I think his fish both went in this direction as well. So there's this constant sort of movement of, we get blue marlin coming down the coast every year, as we know, but they are a tropical species, as are yellowfin tuna. So their natural home is, you know, up here somewhere. So when they come down here, we think that they're just feeding and they're following the continental shelf and they're not spawning. But then when they're moving back up here, they're heading up into their, you know, more normal territory. And that's where they'll be spawning and etc. So this is adult black marlin. We've had over 90, in fact we've had probably about 95 tagged adult black marlin. And if you remember that movement of, again, conventional tags, this is pop-up tags, and they show very similar movements. You know, we're showing basically, yes, you know, these marlin do move away, but this map was generated over 2 seasons, whereas the other one took 25 years to generate. So this is the beauty of pop-up tags. Again, they'll show you this information pretty quickly. We haven't as yet had any move right across the Pacific, but then, as I said, the problem is, see, the longest one here, I think, is about 120 days, about 4 months that it stayed on the fish. Oh, and there's 146 days there. So if we could keep these tags on for a year, we would get much more information about probably much bigger distance moved. Last season, we had 3 tags left over and sent them up to a couple of charter boats, and they tagged 3 pretty big fish. Most of those that scatter on the last slide were from fairly small fish up off Cairns, like adult male fish. We haven't had a lot of really big fish tagged. These were pretty big. These were both over 800 pound, and this one was estimated about 500 pounds. So they were all female fish, spawners, and they've all moved away from the reef quite quickly. So this one was tagged on a little seamount away from the reef. You see, that's not right on the barrier reef. He moved about 300 kilometres in 10 days, and these ones 32 days, 64 days. So this has sort of been the pattern of black marlin movements from up there. All the tracking we've done and all of this sort of electronic tagging has indicated that they actually move away from the reef all the time. There's not a lot of evidence that they stay near the reef. So again, you know, this is new information in the sense that that's a big question. You know, are the black marlin that appear up off the barrier reef every spring and early summer a confined population that just arrives and stays there, and spawns and then moves away? Or is there constant fish coming and going? And it looks like they're coming and going. And so therefore the population is probably a lot bigger than if they were a static group that just appeared and then disappeared. So and this is a very useful graph too, because we were talking at dinner about this whole Coral Sea area is being sort of claimed by this American conservation group called PEW. They want to have this all completely closed to fishing, no fishing. It sounds pretty bizarre, but it is a really serious campaign, and it's really well funded. They've got a lot of money. They're American. They're not even talking about, you know, yes, you know, pelagic fish would be excluded. You know, we're only talking about bottom or reef fish. They want all fishing stopped. But the fact that these fish move through that area with impunity really suggests that what's the point of not being able to fish for marlin, because, you know, you're not part of that sort of ecosystem for very long.